of anger and hate that is encouraged. You're now seeing the hate manifesting right here. Interestingly enough,
Please, the committee will come to order. The senator is recognized to finish his remarks.
So we now have a demonstration of anti-Semitism. We have a demonstration of the hate.
What happens when hate walks through the door, live, in the middle of a Senate hearing? Watch what one senator does when the room itself proves his point. Pay attention to what doesn't stop.
Anti-Semitism is a unique historic form of evil. And over millennia, it is manifested in violence, mass murder, and genocide. October 7th was one of the darkest days in human history when terrorists murdered over 1,200 Israelis and took 251 hostages. Women and girls were raped. It was the single largest mass murder of Jews in a day since the Holocaust. In the wake of October 7th, we have seen anti-Semitism explode across the United States and across the world, but especially on college campuses. As the ADL has illustrated, from 2022 to 2023, the number of anti-Semitic incidents more than doubled in the United States. But college campuses in particular have become vile incubators of hatred of Jews. At Cornell University, in the aftermath of October 7th, one student made vile threats, including statements such as, "If I see a pygmalion Jew, I will stab you and slit your throat. If I see another female Jew, I will drag you away and rape you and throw you off a cliff." A student organization at California State University, Long Beach, circulated a flyer calling for a, quote, day of resistance in celebration of October 7th. You will note on the flyer is an image of a person parachuting with a fan attached, a direct reference to and a glorification of Hamas terrorists that used gliders to descend upon a music festival and murder 260 innocent people and take many more hostages. At Columbia University, the situation got so bad that the Orthodox rabbi on campus, Rabbi L.A. Buechler, had to make this public statement. Columbia University's public safety cannot guarantee Jewish students' safety in the face of extreme anti-Semitism and anarchy. It deeply pains me to say that I would strongly recommend you return home. This was directed to Jewish students as soon as possible and remain home. The rabbi had every reason to be concerned. At Columbia's campus, individuals yelled, "We love Hamas, we're all Hamas, long live Hamas." At the University of Washington, the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors was told that she was called names, she was spit at, she was laughed at. She said she no longer felt safe on campus, and she was told to go back to the gas chambers. This is sick and horrific. At Columbia, when Jewish students were engaged in displaying the American flag and the Israeli flag, another student wearing a mask, because these protesters are oh so brave, they almost always cover their face, held up a handwritten sign saying Al-Qassam's next target. Al-Qassam is the military arm of Hamas. According to social media, this particular student is a wealthy student from Georgia. She's not Palestinian, but she has been taught lies and hatred, and she feels perfectly comfortable advocating the murder of her fellow students at Columbia. At MIT, students have reported they feel unsafe to go to class. And the MIT president has said that she would not discipline the students making those threats because if she did, they risk losing their visas and being deported. Throughout all of this, the Biden-Harris administration has been utterly absent. Does anyone doubt if the Klan were on college campuses terrorizing African American students, threatening African American students, that we would see the FBI there, that we would see prosecutors there, that we would see federal funding cut off to universities. Of course we would, and we should. But when it comes to anti-Semitism, the Democrats have a problem. I would note, this is occurring in blue states with blue governors because the Democrat Party is terrified of the pro-Hamas wing of their party. In states like Texas and Florida, we don't allow this. At the University of Texas, when violent protesters threatened Jewish students, police officers arrived and arrested them. That's what happened when you enforce the law. Every Republican member of this committee asked the chairman to hold a hearing on anti-Semitism in February. And yet we don't get a hearing on anti-Semitism. We get a hearing generic.
This is the moment the argument became evidence. Cruz wasn't describing a protest happening somewhere on a campus. It was happening in the room, in real time, while he was speaking. That is not coincidence. That is the entire thesis of his statement, made visible. No university president was there to look away. No administrator issued a careful non-statement afterward. The disruption landed, and the hearing continued. What the cameras captured here is something policy language rarely produces. A live demonstration of the exact phenomenon being debated. No funding has been cut. No indictments filed. The institutions are still standing, still receiving federal dollars. So here is the question that should be in every comment right now. If this happened on camera in the United States Senate, what is actually happening on the campuses where there are no cameras?
Generically on hate, because this administration, and this is the kind of anger and hate that is encouraged. You're now seeing the hate manifesting right here. Interestingly enough,
Please, the committee will come to order. The senator is recognized to finish his remarks.
So we now have a demonstration of anti-Semitism. We have a demonstration of the hate. Rabbi Goldfelder, let me ask you, has the Biden administration cut off the funding of any of the colleges that have allowed this hate? Have they indicted anyone for funding these violent protests? Have they indicted the people paying for the matching tents? Or have they sat there silently, and have the universities sat there silently while their students are terrified to go to class?
They have not indicted anyone.
They have not indicted anyone. Has any university had their funding cut off for allowing this sort of violent intimidation?
Not a single university.
I can tell you this. Next year,
Senator's
if there
time
is a
has
Republican
expired.
majority on this committee, you will see real leadership. And next year, if there's a Republican administration, you will see people prosecuted for this sort of violence. This is being tolerated with the looking away, the blind eye being turned from this administration and this Department of Justice. And it is utterly disgraceful. And under Title VI, any university that allows this should have their funding cut off.
Senator.
That is the line nobody in mainstream coverage is leading with, because it is too clean, too uncomfortable, and it hands the moment entirely to one side of the argument. But it is what happened. A senator stands up to describe how hatred is erupting on college campuses across America, how Jewish students are being told to go back to the gas chambers, how a rabbi had to publicly warn students to leave campus for their own safety, and then, mid-sentence, someone in that hearing room begins shouting. The committee chair calls for order. Cruz doesn't flinch. He pivots to it directly. He names it. He says, "We now have a demonstration." That pivot is not rhetorical theater. That is a politician recognizing that the moment just handed him more than any prepared statement could. But here is what nobody is asking. Who benefits from that image, and who controls the framing of it afterward? Supporters of Cruz's position will say this is exactly what he warned about. That the normalization of disruptive, hostile behavior in defense of a foreign militant organization has moved from university quads into federal buildings. They will point to the specific incidents he catalogued: the Cornell threats, the Columbia masked student, the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors being told to return to the gas chambers, and argue that the through line from campus to Senate chamber is not a leap. It is a straight line. Critics will argue something different. They will say Cruz used a scripted political moment to conflate legitimate protest with anti-Semitism, that opposing Israeli government policy is not the same as hating Jewish people, and that the framing of every campus demonstration as a Hamas rally is deliberate, calculated, and designed to shut down political speech by attaching it to the most extreme actors in the room. They will point to the fact that the hearing was called on hate broadly, not anti-Semitism specifically, and argue that was the more honest framing. Both camps are missing something. What is actually on trial in this hearing is institutional authority, the universities, the administrators, the department chairs and presidents and boards of trustees who watched their campuses fracture and chose, repeatedly, to issue statements rather than make decisions. Cruz names this directly. Not one university has had its funding cut. Not one person financing the matching tents has been indicted. Not one administrator has faced a federal consequence. The Biden administration, in his framing, has been absent. Not merely slow, not merely cautious, but entirely absent. Think about what that means if you are a Jewish student at Columbia right now. You have been told by your own rabbi that the university cannot guarantee your safety. You have been told to go home, and the federal government, which funds that university, has not made a single consequential move. Now think about what it means if you are a student protester who believes you are standing against a genocide. You are being told that your demonstration is terrorism, that your politics make you a threat, that the answer to your presence on a campus is arrest and deportation. Cruz says explicitly, in Texas and Florida, we arrested them. That's what happens when you enforce the law. This is the pressure point, not the shouting in the hearing room, not the masked student with the handwritten sign. The pressure point is what standard gets applied, to whom, and by which government. Because this is also a story about precedent. When federal funding becomes a political lever, pulled in one direction by one administration, reversed by the next, universities don't become safer. They become battlegrounds. The threat Cruz makes at the end of this clip is not a legal argument. It is a preview. Next year, if there's a Republican administration, you will see people prosecuted. That line is doing something very specific. It is not describing justice. It is describing what power, once obtained, intends to do with the leverage that already exists but hasn't been used. History has seen this before. Not the anti-Semitism. That is ancient and undeniable, and the examples Cruz cites are real and documented. But the political instrumentalization of campus unrest. The McCarthy hearings didn't begin with senators targeting innocent people. They began with real infiltration, real concern, real incidents. And then the mechanism was turned, and it did not stop where it started. If this is the kind of analysis you are not finding anywhere else right now, you already know what to do with it. The clip ends with a funding threat and a promise of prosecution. But the real question it leaves open is the one that doesn't resolve when the hearing adjourns. The question is not whether anti-Semitism is real. It is. The question is not whether campus administrators have failed. Many have. The question is whether the political response being constructed here protects the students who were threatened, or whether it protects something else entirely. That question does not have a clean answer, and anyone telling you it does is selling you something. This story is not finished. The hearings will continue. The campuses will not quiet down. The funding fights will escalate. And somewhere in between the genuine protection of Jewish students and the political weaponization of their fear, there is a line. And right now, nobody in power seems particularly interested in drawing it. Watch this space, because what comes next will tell you everything about which one of those things was actually the priority. If this breakdown gave you something the headlines didn't, subscribe, drop your take in the comments, and share this with someone who's only getting one side of this story. The comment section is open. Use it.